Hello and welcome back to my cozy little office. My name is Tilly Toy. This is Tilly Toy TV, and today we are completing my How to Plan a Road Trip series. I'm pretty excited about this. I put a lot of work in. So today we're going to go over all the skills and know-how that you are going to need to keep your road trip running smoothly, safely, and as stress-free as possible once you actually get on the road. So we're going to go over three big things, okay? Choosing and reserving your accommodations as you go along, basic navigation skills and habits to keep you from getting lost because you cannot just put all your faith in a GPS, and time management so that way you get home on time and back to work and all of your responsibilities on time without having to rush through the last few days of your road trip. If you are still in the planning or budgeting phases of your trip, then check out videos 1 and 2 in this series to figure out how long your trip will take and how much it will cost. If you've already got that done, then let's plan this out. You've got your route planned, you got your gear packed, you've got a cup of coffee in your hand, you've probably already got your first night booked, and maybe your second, but how many days in advance should you book the rest of your accommodation? It's a question that I get often from first-time road trippers, and we are going to answer that first. So there's a few things to keep in mind. Booking ahead gives you the confidence of knowing that you have a comfortable place to sleep where you want to be when you get there. And that is awesome. But waiting to book until you get closer to your destination allows you a lot more flexibility. So you can decide to stay somewhere a little longer, or, if you've got an 8-hour drive and you decide 6 hours into it, you're like, oh, I'm over this. I'm so tired. I shouldn't be driving anymore. You can stop, find a different place to stay 2 hours earlier without having to worry about something already being booked. So I do a little bit of both depending on the location. For example, on this road trip, it took just under 10 weeks. I would say most of our hotels and campsites were booked within 3 hours of arriving at them, or we just showed up and paid when we arrived if there was a fee, because a lot of the campsites in more remote areas are first come, first served. So in that case, for places that I knew would be busier or harder to get a camping spot or hotel room, I booked ahead, like Key West. I looked about a week in advance, just checking out my route, kind of planning things, and I saw that there were very few campsites there, and the hotels were a higher budget than my road trip partner and I wanted to spend to be there. So I just booked the campsite right then. It put us on more of a schedule to get down there from North Carolina, but it was worth it for us. Same with Yellowstone at the very beginning of that trip. The campsites in and around large parks like this can get very, very busy. Or if you are planning on staying in one area for, more than 2 or 3 nights, like a whole week in one spot, you might want to book in advance there too to make sure that you get one full week in one spot so you don't have to move campsites within the same campground during your stay, because that's just kind of inconvenient. Additionally, if there's only 1 or 2 accommodations that work for the location that you're going to, I would book ahead to ensure that you get one, since options are limited. If there's a ton of options, I wouldn't sweat it as much. If you have a pet, make sure that your accommodations are pet friendly. Also, a quick note on pets: if you are visiting national parks, make sure that you look at those parks' rules regarding pets and the type of pet that you are bringing, because many parks have very strict rules, especially about dogs not being allowed pretty much on any of the hiking trails. Like Yellowstone is super unfriendly towards dogs, and so you'll have to leave your dog at your campsite most of the time that you are there, or in your car. And if it's summertime, that's not really a good idea. Please don't leave your pets in a hot car. And that brings us to choosing your hotel or campsite. Read the reviews, and please leave reviews. It helps everybody else out, and it helps the business out if they're doing a good job. So with hotels, pretty straightforward. Read the reviews, look at the star ratings, decide if you want to stay there, find out whether or not they have RV parking, if you're towing something, whatever. Do what you need to do, see if they're pet friendly. For campsites, you really need to read the reviews because a lot of times, especially with first come, first serve, or really especially with free campsites, sometimes there is a total lack of signage that points you in the direction of the campsite. Or I've run into it a lot of times, especially with free campsites, you need four-wheel drive to get to it. And unless you search through the reviews and read everything and see somebody that said, yeah, there's no sign, but if you just turn at the one-way sign or the stop sign or whatever and go up that sandy road, you're gonna need four-wheel drive, and then you'll find a sign for the campsite. Otherwise, you might just be in the middle of nowhere. The sun's going down, you wanna pitch a tent, but you have no idea where this campsite is. If you read the reviews, you would have been able to find it. Or you would have known that you shouldn't take your vehicle there because it needs four-wheel drive. So Google Maps is not gonna tell you that. If you just pull up the name and hit go, it's just gonna try to take you there, whether or not that road is impassable for your vehicle or not. So please read reviews and leave reviews. Also, while choosing campsites, I avoid camping too close to big cities. If I want to check out a big city, then I just book a hotel somewhere that is safe and walkable, and I check it out from there and just kind of use it as like a little refresher from camping while I'm on my trip. If you are in an RV or you want to camp while you check out your big cities, try to camp somewhere that is outside of the urban sprawl and drive in to check it out during the day. Some KOAs, like the KOA, I think outside of Washington, DC, has like a shuttle that goes into the city every day because it's a common road trip destination. And I'm sure some other touristy cities have that. So again, read reviews, know what's available to you. And if you arrive at your camp location and anything seems wrong or suspicious, or there's some creepy people hanging around, or you just have an uneasy feeling that you can't explain, leave. Don't try to explain it, don't try to justify it, and don't try to force yourself to feel comfortable if you're not comfortable. Trust your gut and leave. Whatever you spent booking the spot is not worth your safety. And if you're uncomfortable with your surroundings, you're not gonna get a good night's rest anyways, and so just leave. And that is why I tried to camp outside of the urban sprawl when it comes to big cities, or I just grab a hotel within the big city, somewhere that is noted as safe, just because I don't want to deal with people. I would rather deal with a bear. I always keep bear spray on me. Even if you're not in bear country, you're always in people country, so have bear spray with you, especially if you are a girl, and especially if you are solo camping, but really it applies to everyone. If I am solo camping as a woman, I car camp. Just because it's comforting to be able to be inside locked doors while I'm sleeping. Also, I don't take up that much space, me and my gear, so I can accomplish that in my Subaru. That being said though, me and my friend Mel were just two girls traveling alone for 10 weeks across the United States, and we tent camped the whole way and never got creeped out of a campsite. But it does happen, and so, you know, I have to say all of that. Carry bear spray and be aware of your surroundings. Okay, safety meeting over. Last note on camping, especially if you are car camping or like van life camping or motorhoming, like in a way that like you are taking your sleeping quarters with you when you leave to go exploring for the day. So if you're doing any of that and your campsite is essentially going to be pretty empty, make sure that you're leaving things to make it at least look occupied or taken, so that way you don't lose it during the day when you're not there, especially at first come, first serve campgrounds and free campgrounds. So leave behind a few chairs or a blanket out, nothing that you don't want to lose or can't afford to lose. And it can also be wise to post a note or write on like a paper plate, site occupied, and the dates of your occupation. When it comes to booking campsites and hotels, I do both a little differently. For campsites, I just look on Google Maps for the campsite, go to their website and book them. You can also use any one of these websites. I know a lot of people have great luck with these, but I personally just like to look for whatever is closest to where I want to be and book it directly through their site. For hotels, I recommend booking in a way that you get points. So whatever point system makes the most sense for you. So like Best Western or Holiday Inn or you can use a third-party site that has rewards like Expedia or hotels.com. Additionally, if you are an airline mileage member with any airlines, a lot of times they have hotel partnerships where you can be earning a small amount of air mileage points, so that is another option for you. Okay, accommodation out of the way, let's move on to navigation. Google Maps does it for you, right? No. In most cases nowadays, maybe that is true actually, but let's go over some navigation basics that you need to be doing on your trip, regardless of how reliable your GPS is, if you have Starlink or whatever, all your Google Maps routes are downloaded. All of that is wonderful, but that is just your route. You are still responsible for a few things, so let's go over them. First thing is knowing where you are, which sounds really simple, but it's also very easy today to just zone out to your music, get set on some really boring, straightforward highway driving, and trust your GPS to snap you out of it and go, hey, turn here. And way too many times I have been on road trips where like after a few hours, somebody like looks up from their phone and goes, whoa, where are we? I even had a friend ask me what state we were in after we had already been in the state for over 24 hours. You know who you are. Please, at the very least, the person driving should know where you are, should be paying attention, okay? And it's not about navigation in a way of like knowing when to turn or, you know, about whether or not your GPS has service and can tell you when to turn. It's about accident and emergency preparedness, okay? You need to be able to say, I'm on Highway 14 southbound between Townsville and Bridgeport. Please help. You need to be able to say that without picking up your phone and picking through your GPS and being like, whoa, where am I? You need to know which direction you were headed without having to do all of that. That is basic knowledge of your location that you should have at all times. There is no time on a road trip, even my 10-week long road trip, where you could have asked me, where are we? And I would have said, I don't know. So basic knowledge of where you are, what's around you, and what direction you are headed towards. Also, if your car breaks down somewhere and you don't have cell service, you need to know whether the town ahead of you or behind you is closer because you're gonna have to walk. So that brings us to paper maps. Yes, I know you can download your Google Map route and have it regardless of cell service, but unlike cities where Google is constantly updating because it has all this data from all these people who are using it to navigate, I have run into several situations where Google did not know about the detours and road closures in less traveled areas and dead zones. And if you run into that, you are going to need a map. So Road Atlas are my favorite maps to keep in the car. You can get them per state or regionally. You can find them at like travel centers and road stops, or you can order them on Amazon ahead of time. You won't always need a paper map for your road trip, but when you need it, you'll be really thankful that you have it. And a quick note, since I just mentioned travel centers, here are all of the gas reward programs that you could be taking advantage of while you are on your road trip. I recommend picking one or two and sticking to them so that way you get some change off your gas as you go along. The next navigation habit that you should get the hang of is pretty similar to the first, and that is knowing how to get where you are going. Do not rely 100% on your GPS, okay? There is more dead zone in the US than you might think, and knowing how to follow road signs is a basic road trip skill that you need to have. Your GPS is a great assistant, but you are the captain and you need to know your route. So take a look at the steps that you'll need to take to get to where you're going before you take off in the morning. It should look something like, okay, we're going to get to the main interstate and stay on it until we see signs for Highway 12 southbound, and then we're gonna take that until we see exits for the state park that we're visiting, and then we follow signs for the campground that we're going to. Knowing these things will save you from missing an exit if your GPS loses service, your phone dies, or if you just have the volume of your music way too loud and you're zoned out and don't notice it. If you're paying attention to road signs, you will already know that your turn is coming up. This will also help you with the first skill of knowing where you are, since you'll already be aware of what main roads that you're going to be taking and paying attention to the road signs around you. And our next road trip skill is knowing when to refuel your car, and that ties right into those two. So running your vehicle until the gas light dings and reminds you to fill up is one way to do it, but that's also a great way to run out of gas if you are on a long stretch of highway with no gas stations. Utah, New Mexico, and Nevada all have stretches of highway that are over 100 miles long with no gas stations. And Alaska has one that is 240 miles long. And California, Wyoming, South Dakota, and many of the Bread Belt states have gasless stretches that are over 50 miles. This is why knowing where you are at and where you are going and how you're getting there and reviewing your route in the morning before you take off is an important part of your drive days. Pay attention to your route and take note of long empty stretches like that, and make sure that you stop to top off your gas tank before you set out on one. Also, no gas stations usually means that there's no food or other services. So top off your water supply, snacks, and any emergency supplies that you may be running low on. You should also be checking the weather for your location and your destination while you're going over your route in the morning. So that way you know what you're getting into and if you need to adjust your route at all. And that brings us to another habit that you should pick up: talking to people. I always talk to park rangers, other travelers and road trippers, and locals at the places that I'm visiting about the sites that I'm planning to see and where I'm headed next. They'll give you the best tips on what to see, where to camp, and what to be aware of on the road ahead, like those long, empty stretches of highway. Back to gas for one moment. In addition to not letting yourself run out of gas in the middle of the desert, it can also be wise to refuel before entering major cities. I find gas prices are usually a bit cheaper just outside of where the urban sprawl begins, and this prevents you from having to pull off on a random exit in the middle of a city that you're unfamiliar with. If you're unfamiliar with the city or it has a reputation for having some high crime areas around it, then stay on the safe side and fuel up before you enter, and then be sure to refuel in the area of the city that you've intended to visit before you traverse the urban sprawl on your way back out. I'm not saying that you should be scared of cities. Just be aware that having a vehicle or RV that is visibly packed with gear and supplies can bring unwanted attention in some areas. So just like I talk to park rangers, I always chat with the hotel staff, other tourists, and locals in the cities that I'm visiting to get a beat on where to go and where to avoid. The last thing that I'm going to mention when it comes to general navigation is toll roads. In many cases, they can save you a ton of time, but they do cost in some places. And if you're in a camper or you're towing a camper or towing anything for that matter, be aware that many toll roads charge per axle or have a higher fee for towing or for large vehicles. So check your route for tolls and research their fees. Google Maps does show you if there are tolls on your route and even shows you the total cost in a lot of places, but keep in mind that that cost is usually for a standard 2-axle car or truck. To pay my tolls, I stop at the cash pay booth of the toll road and pay on the spot, so that way I don't forget about it. If there is no cash lane, which is the case in many places, then I just have one of my passengers snap a picture of the toll company name as we pass through, and I go online with my license plate number and pay it when we get to our destination that night. If I forget to do that, or for some reason forget the toll company name or something like that, don't worry, they will mail a bill to the address that your vehicle is registered to. So check the mail when you get home or have someone check it for you, open that mail and send you a picture. Now, that is it for navigation. So let's get into our next topic, time management. Some of us are really good at this and some of us are really bad. I would say that I fall somewhere in between, but on road trips, I'm good at it. So really quick though, if you are finding this video helpful at all, please drop a thumbs up for me and subscribe to my channel if you think you'd find my other road trip videos helpful. It helps me out a ton and it keeps me busy making these, and I love to stay busy. Back to time management. The first piece of the time management puzzle is knowing your pace. So how are you wanting this road trip to feel? Are you going for a slow down and relax type of vacation? Or is this an upbeat adventure where you're expecting to wear yourself out a bit on some days? Or maybe you're going to do a little bit of both with some lazy beach days after a couple busy hiking and driving days. When I'm finding my pace, I not only think about how I want my road trip to feel, but I also consider the amount of time that I have to complete my goals. So I compare the available days that I have for my road trip with my desired route, and then I determine the slowest and the fastest amount of time that I could complete it in. Then I decide where I want to fall within those two time frames. Do I want to go all the way fast, or do I want to go all the way slow, or somewhere in the middle? Or do I need to adjust the time that I'm going to take off, or maybe adjust my route? This is where that outline that we made in the first video of this series can come in handy, or really any written outline of where you want to be and when and what you might be doing while you're there. This gives a good estimate of how long your trip is going to be and how much time you actually have to spend in each place before you need to get going to the next. If you want to jump to the video where I walk you through making a trip outline, I will link it right here. Now, again, this is not hour by hour scheduling of our trips, okay? Whatever activities and ideas you put down that you want to do in each place are not mandatory, okay? This is your adventure. You choose it. So once you arrive at each location and assess how you feel and what you're in the mood for, you're gonna choose your activities. Right now, we're just deciding how fast we're going to be making all those decisions. Are we moving spot to spot every single night? Are we staying in one place for a long time? Are we chilling out? What are we doing? So once you have decided the pace for your road trip and you know about where you want to be, when, and what you might want to be doing there, keep that in mind when you get there. So firstly, do not rush when you arrive to your destinations, because you've arrived. Calm down, you're there. You may have just driven quite a ways to get to your destination or felt like you were losing time due to some unexpected traffic. And if that's the case, you might find yourself in go mode when you arrive. So go ahead and carry that productive energy through setting up your camp or checking into your hotel or whatever. But once that setup is done, take a moment to land. Once you're settled, take a breath and check in with how you feel. Remind yourself of the pace that you wanted for this trip. Don't let all of the things that you and your road trip partners want to do pile onto your shoulders like a bunch of homework. Take a moment to smile and say, "We made it." Then prioritize the things that you are most excited to do there and try to do them first. If there's 3 things you want done in one day and you think you'll have to rush to do it all, stop and ask yourself if you want to experience these things while feeling rushed. If you don't, then stop and say, okay, we can for sure do these 2 things, and if we have time, we'll do the 3rd, and prioritize them by what you want to do the most. I do a lot of adventure style trips where I'm only in each location for one day or a part of a day. But even with that fast paced, for me, quality is still much more important than quantity. So I would rather do one hike in one day and really take it in, notice all the critters running around, and stop to breathe in the viewpoints instead of plowing through it so I can get to the second hike that day. So relax. It's unlikely that your trip is going to go so perfectly that you hit every single thing that you wanted to see and do, and that is okay. Especially if this is your first big road trip, understand that your plans are subject to change and your body and mind are subject to getting tired. I like to tell people that their expectations for a road trip shouldn't be all the sights they'll see or the things they get to do. Your expectations should simply be a feeling of adventure or relaxation or a wonderful time. Whatever it is that the feeling that you want out of this road trip, that's the goal. That is what you should be cultivating throughout this road trip, not a big checklist of things that you have to strive to do and get done and exhaust yourself trying to accomplish. So decide what your pace is going to be. How rushed or unrushed do you want to feel on this road trip? What is your goal? So how do you want this trip to feel? What do you want accomplished? I always tell people to try and accomplish a feeling rather than any specific things, but what is your goal? You decide for yourself. And then what are your priorities? Then we can handle unexpected changes much better. So let's say you're on a road trip and something happens with the car, flat tire, whatever, you have to get the whole thing replaced, and it eats up a whole entire travel day. So now you are a whole entire day behind. This is where that outline comes in handy. Again, I really highly recommend making one. Take a look at your place. So your tire pops, you're a day behind, and you were about to spend 2 days in a place, and now you only have 1 day. If you're in a group, sit down with your group, talk about your priorities, and decide what you're going to do with the time that you do have. If you're solo, do that with yourself. Or something that I really like to do in that situation is go to a park ranger or guide or somebody at the hotel that I'm staying at or wherever I'm at, talk to a local and say, hey, my tire popped. I was gonna spend 2 days here, but now I've only got 1. These were all the things I was hoping to do. What would you do if you only had 1 day? And they might tell you something totally different that's not on your list, and you'll end up doing that, and it'll be awesome. So that is typically what I do. And we've done it, guys. Your trip is planned, your budget is made, we know how we're going to book our stays, we know how to navigate ourselves safely, and we know how we want our trip to feel while we're on it. If you don't know how long your trip is going to take or how much it's going to cost yet, then please backtrack to the first 2 videos of this series and I will help you out with all of that, and those things will help you with this video too. All that being said, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please put a thumbs up, and if you have any questions or if I missed anything, drop it in the comments so that way I can respond to it. And please, if you want more road trip content, subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a ton. I share my road trips, and I'm going to be making some more road trip advice videos like packing and advice on meal planning and grocery lists for camping road trips. So please check out my channel under my road trip planning playlist for those. I hope to see you in a future video. Until then, my name's Tilly Toy. This is Tilly Toy TV, and thank you so much for hanging out with me today.